Good afternoon, everybody. I'm Simon Spalter, and I'm really pleased to say that we've got Sandi Procter with us this afternoon, LTA President. Welcome, Sandi.
Thank you very much, Simon.
So we've all been very excited for you to come and answer lots of questions and to tell us about what's been going on down at the LTA at Roehampton and beyond. So what I thought we'd start by doing is I've got a couple of questions just to give you the option to tell us a bit, and then we'll open it to the floor. So my first question is, really, how has your first year as president been?
Well, first of all, it's gone very fast. I can't believe it's already nearly December and I've done 11 months of it. It's been amazing. It's been busy. It's been fun. People told me at the beginning to always make sure I enjoy the role, which I do. I think all volunteers should enjoy what we do. Otherwise, why would we do it? Most of my first year has been involved around connecting and learning. So I set out the beginning of the year to connect and inspire. That's every president has a bit of a mantra, and I set that one out. And I've been doing that at 3 different levels. So first of all, I've been trying to do that as much as I can at grassroots, so visiting venues and getting out and about, competitions and everything, awards. And secondly, at county and national level. So that's looking after the team of councillors and really trying to engage with everybody and get us moving as a team. And thirdly, at the international level, a bit of a new one for me, really, the whole international scene. So I represent the LTA at the ITF and the Tennis Europe AGMs and various events. And it's a new one, meeting all the people and understanding the politics. So a lot of learning and a lot of connecting. And I've been inspired a lot as well.
Okay, thanks, Sandi. So with the connecting side of things and the learning, tell me some of the connections you've made and some of the things you have learned.
Well, I'll start with the grassroots level where I've been sort of connecting. So I've been to about 14 different counties and different organisations, because remember that we've got volunteers not just in counties, Scotland and Wales, but also in UK Armed Forces, Seniors Tennis GB, TIA, and ABTO. So I try and visit as many as I can. So I try and visit the management committees just to find out what their challenges are and see what I can do in the way of help or act as a conduit, support. The venues, visiting venues has been brilliant fun. So I've been to, I don't know, I can't actually count how many venues I've been to, but just as an illustration, I did a Bucks visit last week and I went to 8 different venues, and they were anything from a 2-court in a park venue with a wooden hut for a clubhouse through to a 20-court venue with a lovely new clubhouse. So a real mix of everything. Meet all the committee members. I'm overwhelmed by the hard work and passion of all the volunteers involved. It's absolutely brilliant. So, and I try and connect by taking stuff I learned from one venue, I very often share with another venue. So it's amazing how many great ideas there are going on around the place. And it's really nice for me that I can talk to one venue who run brilliant club nights, and then I go to another venue where they're struggling to keep their club nights and going, and I can share some of the ideas that one club does that might help another. So that's the kind of connecting I do. Plus, if anybody's got any issues when I go to any of the venues, and of course, big issue at the moment is around digital and competitions and stuff. So I do try and feed that back to the LTA as much as I can. Not that they haven't really heard it themselves anyway, but sometimes a presidential nudge sometimes helps a little bit. So I do what I can in the way of connecting people and things and ideas. And then in terms of the next group of people, we'll just wait for Andrew to, oh, there he is. Okay, well done, Andrew. So then, of course, my big job is around getting the LTA Council. So I'm going to take a guess that most of you know what LTA Council is, that every one of you that comes from a county know that you've got an LTA councillor who represents your county up in the council. We are about 60 people on the council, and it's my job to run the meetings and keep in touch with everybody. And one of the big things I've paid a lot of attention to this year is communications, and making sure that all the councillors are well updated, well informed, understand processes, simple things like understanding the process for nominating good volunteers for Wimbledon tickets or something like that, understanding the process for nominating somebody for an award. All of these kind of things, I feel like some of it just needs communicating again and again. And then we've got information that comes from the colleagues into the council meeting, and then I help the councillors to cascade that down. So lots of connecting, communications. Learning wise, wow, I mean, I've learned that everybody's different. My word, I learned that everybody learns differently. So we've gone down the route of setting our WhatsApp groups up so that those people who don't like to read endless papers, I do a little video on a WhatsApp group, and some people like to listen to me instead of reading a paper if they want an update. People like to share their own ideas. So, learning different ways that we can all communicate to make sure that we all feel supported and can help each other. And then the other side of learning is the whole politics, especially internationally. But we won't go there. That's not really of interest to you guys today, but it's a whole ball game for me.
So Sandi, I was going to first of all tell us all, my final question is, first of all, tell us what TIA stands for, because not everybody knows. And then secondly, I was going to ask you what your challenges have been, if you've had any, and you don't need to cover about the international side of things, which might be your only challenge that you've had.
Yeah. Okay. Well, TS, did I say TS?
No, the TIA group, TIA.
Oh, the TIA. The TIA is the Tennis Industry Association. So as well as a representative from council, from all the counties, so voting member organisations, these are members of the LTA. So your county is a member of the LTA, so is Seniors Tennis GB, so is the Tennis Industry Association, and they are a group that are formed to support retailers and ball manufacturers and court builders and people like that. They've got their whole organisation to themselves, that they support each other and network. And also UK Armed Forces are another member organisation, and ABTO, which is the officials. So they're member bodies. So each one of them have got a councillor that attends the council meetings. You asked about my challenges. Well, yeah, internationally it's a challenge. I'm learning, but that's fine. They're very nice people. Sometimes I have struggles with English, but I struggle with their English. But how unbelievable it is that 220 nations come together and everybody speaks English. I mean, lucky for me, because I don't speak a single other language whatsoever. So that's really, really cool. I learn a lot. So internationally, I had lunch last week in Malaga with the president of Tennis Canada, and they run a brilliant women and girls program. I know Mandy would be interested in that. And I took her out to lunch to absolutely find out everything I possibly could about what they do. And they won an ITF award this year for their women and girls program. So I wanted to pick their brain. Similarly, I met recently with the person who runs the women's leadership program in Australia, because again, they won an award for what they do. And they gave us so many ideas for how we can move our programs forward for women leadership. So that was really nice. So there may be challenges internationally, but there are also some really brilliant things. One of the challenges women on this group would probably know is that the gender equality internationally is absolutely horrendous. So of the ITF board of 14, there are only 2 women. And as hard as we're trying to get more women on it, it does seem to be a bit difficult. Different parts of the world have different attitudes to gender equality. So other challenges, well, I quite like to talk about the good things first. First thing is I absolutely love meeting people, especially people who, like all of you here, if you've bothered to come to this, I'm guessing you're a passionate volunteer. And I am hugely inspired by the people I meet out there everywhere with passion and resourcefulness, particularly volunteers, but also coaches and officials. I like to think that one of the good things is that I can share what I find. So I think the whole reason I want to do this role at all is because I quite like helping people. And what's really nice is that I feel I can help people because I've learned from this person, and this other person needs their help. And it's so lovely that I can share ideas from one place to another. So the other nice thing is that I feel like I'm doing this role at a time when the LTA is doing really well. So in terms of participation, we're higher than we have been for many years. And in terms of how well our players are doing, we're doing better than we've done for 40 years in terms of number of players in the top 100, how our Davis Cup teams, Billie Jean King Cup teams are doing, and individual players. Do you know how many, Simon, I'll ask you, how many players, GB players, won titles at ATP and WTA level last year?
I'll go with 6.
Okay, go with 180.
Right.
So I mean, ATP, WTA come down to slightly lower levels sometimes, but not counting but you know, that number is phenomenal compared to where we were 10 years ago and longer. So we may have had stars in the past like Virginia Wade, Sue Barker, Andy Murray's obviously been a big part of this. So, but isn't it great that we've got so many more, and we've got lots of juniors coming up as well. So lovely to be a part of that. My challenges, number one is recognizing that I can't solve everyone's problems as much as I'd like to. The president does not have a magic wand, just in case any of you in here are thinking that I do. You know, the CEO runs the business. The chairman of the board is an independent. I'm the third one of that trio, and I'm largely sort of considered to be the lead volunteer. I don't have the power to, you know, decide that a load of money is spent on this, or that we help somebody here building this court or that court. I'm part of a team, and I'm on the LTA board, but ultimately Scott Lloyd and the team run the business. So no magic wands. Frustrating not having a magic wand, but there we go. Another challenge is, diary management. Oh my goodness, I have loads of trouble with that. I have to make loads of speeches. I don't know how many of you on this call make a lot of speeches, but I've certainly had to learn to make a lot. Sometimes at my age, my memory doesn't always remember them, but I have learned to use new technology and have my speeches on my phone. And my other one that is really good fun, is remembering people's names. Oh my goodness, I've met so many people, and it's really, really hard remembering everybody's names. But fitting everything in is tough because there's so much I want to do. I'm very lucky. I'm a president that is retired from my day job. I was a coach and ran Bromley Tennis Centre before that. or since then. And I'm lucky enough that I retired a few years ago, so I can put my heart and soul into this job.
Right. Thank you very much, Sandi. What an amazing first year you've had.
Yeah.
So the bit that everyone's been waiting for, I think, apart from having had all of that insight into what you've been doing, is to start asking some questions. So all I'd ask is if you can put your electronic hand up to ask your questions. And when I call you to speak, just give us your name and also where you're from, which club or venue you're from. That would be great. So would anyone like to go first? Any questions? Okay, so no questions just yet. So I will ask a question of you. How many of the 38 counties, plus you said you went around to a lot of different places around the country, plus in Scotland and Wales, how many of the counties do you think you managed to get around? Because I'm always conscious to make sure that no one gets forgotten.
This year I've done at least 14. Some of them on the basis of maybe a whole day going around venues, some of them just to an awards presentation or a special kind of meeting. So I'll easily get them all in 3 years. If I'm invited, I mean, you know, this is all based on being invited. I'm not saying to councillors, you must invite me to your county, because it's actually quite hard work taking a president round, and I don't want to put that on them if there's nothing special they want. But some have leveraged me really well. So in Shropshire and Bucks in particular, and Staffs, they took me to clubs that are not that engaged with the LTA. And it's funny how a club doesn't respond to the county tennis or to the LTA, but as soon as they're told a president would like to, I don't know who they think I am, but that they're obviously impressed by the word president is coming to visit, then the whole committee turns out for me, makes homemade cake and gives me wonderful hospitality. And what we do is we find out all the things they don't know. And do you know what the number one thing they don't realise is that their own club main contact left the club 5 years ago, and that's why they don't hear anything. And I mean, you know, it's really funny how a president visit can leverage the relationship then is rekindled between that club and the county.
So, Sandi, what I'd get on that's because you're authentic and people want to talk to people just like you, because you are just like them and they can be reinvigorated and feel part of tennis again. That's what you're all about.
Well, yeah, thank you, Simon. That's very sweet. And I think that is the fact that I can talk about being a coach and running a venue and working at clubs myself, and having been a volunteer for a very long time. Yes, I think people do find that authentic. And then in addition, I've got an absolute head full of, you know, all the different things that could help clubs. So I was sharing things like, do you know what walking tennis is? I played walking tennis recently at the Park Langley Club in Beckenham. I thought it was absolutely brilliant. So I was able to share that. Did they know what pickleball is? Do they know about paddle? Do they know that their club main contact gets all this stuff? Do they know what the coach is doing? Do they know about Prime Video Girls? So I'm able to ask all those questions, and then they all go, wow, we didn't know any of this.
Exactly. Sandi, I'm pleased to say we've got lots of people wanting to ask questions now. So when you ask your questions, try and keep them brief so that everybody gets a chance, and then Sandi will answer your questions. So Mark Braden, please come in.
Hi, Sandi. We've been privileged. I'm from Sandridge Park. We've been privileged by Sandi's attendance a number of times. She's always a great help to us. Going down to grassroots level, probably one of the few problems we've got at Sandridge is club sessions, which are not being as well attended, and certainly the standards lower. You know, interested in what you've found in your travels of how that we can make that work better. Okay, well, the ones that I found very successful usually have some form of socializing or daytime that have got coffee and cake,
or evening ones that have got a sort of a drink after the match. It does seem to be successful when there's a social link to it. The other thing that a couple of clubs were doing, I thought, was they were linking some of their special events to charity, and people were coming along to the charity event, but then they were being sold that club nights are always like this. So come along to raise money for our local hospice. You all had a good time. Well, that's brilliant. But actually, our club sessions are much the same. Why don't you come along to those? So some people might get brought into a charity event once, but then they then come to the club sessions more often. I mean, I do think there's an element of being quite flexible about them. So it does depend on how flexible you can be about timing. Everybody's lives are very different. So it seems to me that most clubs are running some daytime club sessions, some evening ones, trying to get similar standards working. Sometimes they do club sessions only for certain team players. They might call that team practice. So there are all sorts of different types to suit the individuals, their timing needs, and then the key social element as well as the tennis.
Okay, thank you.
I'm surprised you say that. I thought your club sessions were amazing.
No, not. It's. I think what happened after COVID is everyone has got their own WhatsApp groups, and they tend to do that, and that's been at the expense of club session, and it's a lot to do with standards. So I was interested in what you said about standards.
Yeah,
people think I'm not going to get a good game, so I can get a better game elsewhere.
There you go. Kay's just put on that we've introduced club sessions for singles play. So that's attracted people who wanted to play singles and not always doubles.
Okay. Well, we've got 13 singles leagues, 120 people playing in them, so singles is not a problem. It's those double sessions.
Okay.
Thank
Variety.
You. Yeah. Thank you, Mark. Then okay, Valerie, please come in.
Hello. Hi, Sandy.
Hi.
Hi.
Where are you from, Valerie? Please?
Yeah, I'm from Brooklands Tennis Club in Cheshire. And Sandy came to the Cheshire County Awards last year, which was brilliant. So thanks for that. What I'm asking it really is, well, two questions. One was I volunteered at the Davis Cup and had a magnificent time. It was obviously in Manchester. Will it be coming here again next year is my question.
Well, the good news is, of course, that we got a wild card after this year's draw, which means we are officially in the finals and we are officially hosting it. So I think you can probably bet that we are coming to Manchester next year, but it hasn't confirmed.
All right. Okay. Thank you very much. And the second question is, I've got a son who's gone on a tennis scholarship to the USA. I wondered whether anyone at the LTA monitors the participants of young juniors going abroad.
Do you know, I actually don't know that. The chances are they're monitored if they have any results in this country, which I'm presuming they will at some time of the year. But there is somebody on this call who would be very interested in following up that question. And she's put on here, yes, they do. The performance team do it. And just to let you all know, Kay Gilbert, who is on the call, runs a community called Tennis Parents Community, which is a Facebook community where parents can ask each other questions about support. That's just the sort of question that she would love you to put on and share. So I'm sure Kay can share. Are you on that group?
No, I'm not. And simply because my son's now 19 and I thought I was, not really, I thought it was mainly for the juniors.
Any parents. Kay, do you want to come in and just say?
I would. What I was going to add in there. We'll put the link in a moment for the parents group on. Annie's got that in her armory for this afternoon, so she'll put the link on for the parents group of how you can join, or how anyone from your clubs and venues with any aspiring juniors, or even parents who just want to know more about how juniors can play tennis and how they can be supported. to join the group. But Kay, with pleasure, if you want to talk about the parents group, this is your opportunity as well. You're on mute, Kay. You need to come off mute, please.
Sorry, rookie error. Yes, Sandi's been a fantastic supporter of the group, so thank you for that. The group has now got 1,700 members who are all the parents or carers of junior players within the GB system. It's a very active group, a very engaged group of parents, and it gives them an opportunity to share their experiences and to talk to each other about the challenges that they have, and work out for themselves how best to support their children. And we do live Q&As as well. So hopefully one day we'll play Sandi, perhaps come and talk to the parents. But yes, that's in brief. I don't want to hijack the group though. That's not what it's about. But by all means, join the parent group and spread the word.
Lovely. Thank you, Kay. Roland Hanbury, would you like to come in, please?
Sure. Thanks very much. It occurs to me that you
Where are you from, Roland, please?
Oh, sorry. Yes, right. I'm from the Hartswood Tennis Club in, I'm not quite sure, somewhere between Chiswick and Hounslow and whatever. It's right on the border of all three places. I must look up where it is. But yes, West London anyway. So it seems to me that you are gathering an enormous amount of sort of ideas and good ideas and best practices as you tour around all of the different clubs and counties. And that, you know, at the moment is only really being transferred to the other clubs that you visit, and then only if they happen to ask the right questions. So I'm wondering how to kind of extract some of that, you know, and you talked about doing little video clips on WhatsApp, but that's a closed group, I presume. So maybe a series of little kind of words of wisdom from Sandi. You know, here's a words of wisdom, what I've learned from 100+ club visits on what makes good club tennis sessions, what I've learned about promoting women and girls, what I've learned about keeping young adults in the club, because it's often the demographic hole when they get really busy lives. And I don't know what the topics might be, but any other ideas you have for sharing that best practice more widely would be great.
Roland, that's a great idea. I will definitely add that to my to-do list, which is getting ever longer. I do write a bulletin, which is a newsletter that comes out about 8 times a year. I started when COVID hit us, and it was a way of engaging, particularly with county volunteers. It doesn't reach venue volunteers because it is aimed at largely county and other organisation volunteers. I do share all of these ideas I get in those, and what I hope happens is that the councillors might then share them with their venues. So it's not, my newsletter isn't intended to reach venue volunteers, even though some of the ideas would suit. I would just hope that they get cascaded down.
I'm sure they don't, largely. Yeah. There's quite a few steps, aren't there, between the county to the main contact to the person who needs to know about that topic to the...
So I'll try and have a little think about doing stuff like little videos when I'm out and about that might be something they can then pass down nice and easily. There are also things like in the venue support toolkit, just in case anybody isn't sure of where that is on the website, that is full of fabulous case studies on various topics. So there'll almost certainly be a case study of a club that runs great club sessions, a club that's got great sustainability, a club that links well with its community. So there are a whole horde of those, and they are being revisited at the moment with a new one every month. So they're well worth looking at, because there's always an idea that you can pick out from one of those case studies. So there's lots there, but you have given me an idea, and I'll see what I can do about the rest. Oh, there you are. Alex has just put on the link to the venue support toolkit. Lovely.
Thank you very much, Roland. And I think it's also the kind of thing that I'll speak to Sandi afterwards about this type of thing, because I think we can put maybe some of this guidance and advice onto our group here and across the email piece that we also have to support all of you clubs and venues, and maybe even post some of the videos that maybe we can get Sandi to do on particular topics to make sure they get straight to you, Roland, and the rest of you. Next, if we can go to John Peel, please. Where are you from, John?
Thank you. Papworth Tennis Club in Cambridgeshire. 4 Tiger Turf courts, about 260 members, so I would guess small to middle size compared with some of the other participants. And hello, Sandy. Thank you very much for speaking at this group. My question was related to paddle and pickleball that you mentioned earlier. I'm ashamed to say I don't know much about either of them. Slightly alarmed in that it seems like there's a lot of promotion towards it, a lot of funding, whereas we, in common with a lot of other clubs, have been building up our infrastructure and our facilities for conventional tennis. And I'm just wondering what the LTA strategy is. Should we be preparing ourselves for different courts, or is this a continental phenomenon? I'm just interested in any insights you could give me.
It's a really good question. I get that quite a lot everywhere I go, because although we feel like we're in the middle of a paddle revolution, it is still, to keep it in context, we have about 300 paddle courts around the country. We do have 10,000 tennis courts. So anybody that's fearing that paddle will ultimately take over tennis need not worry too much. In Spain, for instance, there are now more paddle players than there are tennis players, but there are no fewer tennis players than there were before. So it's not like people are moving from one to the other. Some do, but not many. What paddle does is offer variety, and in addition offers tennis to a new audience. So the quick LTA view is that we can, all of us, paddle, pickle and tennis, can all live alongside each other happily. They're all racket sports, they're all similar. They can probably all support each other to get more people with a racket and a ball. Paddle is within the LTA. So the LTA is the governing body in the UK for paddle. That's not the case for pickle at the moment. Pickle aren't actually registered as a registered sport at all with Sport England. But yes, yeah, we can definitely live alongside each other. My personal view is that I've seen where clubs have put in 1 or 2 paddle courts and they are attracting a new audience, bringing in a new income stream, and they're offering their current players another alternative, which is definitely making them feel that they're going to keep their members better. So a quick summary of the 3 games. There is no doubt that tennis is the most difficult to play, but the most aspirational game to play. It's the most complex and aspirational. Paddle is easier to play. It's on a smaller court and it's more social, probably, because you can almost talk while you play, which is much harder on a tennis court. And is still pretty inspirational to play as well. Pickle is the easiest of them all, but almost the least complex. And therefore you could say, I hope there are no pickle people on the call, but I would, probably most people would agree, whilst it's brilliant fun and really good for people who don't run very well, can't cover a full court, don't even play very well with a racket and a ball, it is brilliant and is social, but it's not particularly aspirational. There's not a lot to the game, but you would benefit, most clubs would benefit on having all of them at your club, and add walking tennis to the mix, which doesn't require any difference in the way of a facility. And you really would be opening tennis up to a very wide variety of people, and obviously adding LTA youth with the red, orange and green for your kids. So you really would with all of them. Now, in terms of putting them in, paddle costs a bit because it needs its own facility. Mark Braden might correct me, but I think it's around 80 grand a court. Or it might be 40. Have I got that wrong? Is it 80 grand for 2 courts?
No, it'd be 80,000 a court would be the average. Right. Let's not go where how difficult planning permission is.
Yeah, a little bit of a problem. And then pickle costs nothing, but you might want to mark some ghost lines, particularly if you've got any tarmac courts. Very handy to put some ghost lines. I say ghost lines, they're like blended lines that don't show up very much, but if you're playing pickle on them, they're enough. But remember that pickle court is nearly the same size as a mini red court, and therefore your coach would absolutely love you if you put little courts in and played pickle on them sometimes of the day, and red tennis for the kids on the other type of the day. In the US, they're pushing a game, well, they're pushing red ball for all, because they would maintain that playing with a strung racket and a red ball, which is the lowest bouncing of the children's balls, is actually easily as much fun, if not more fun, than pickle. So we've got loads of varieties of these games, and I think I can fairly say play them all. Offer them all to your members as much as you can, and you would probably have a very thriving club.
Sandi, is the idea that it's a pathway into what inverted commas proper tennis?
No, not necessarily. No, it's a game of its own. All of them are games on their own. No, there's no real. In fact, the technique is very different. So the paddle technique is much more akin to a sort of table tennis technique, really. You can't really topspin the ball with the paddles. And pickle is also a bit more like table tennis on the floor. You've obviously got the ability to play off the back walls as well in paddle. So no, it doesn't act as a pathway. It acts as an alternative.
Okay, thank you.
I would just add in before we go to the next question that I've wanted to find out more about pickle myself. Pickle appears to be competing with badminton in that it's played in leisure centres to quite an extent. A lot of leisure centres now have groups of maybe 30 or 40 people turning up for many sessions each week, and it's played on the badminton lines, and it seems to be particularly taking off in this country in the leisure centre space.
Simon, can I just add in, at the Bourne Club now, there's 70 odd people playing pickleball, and it is very popular, but they are playing it alongside their tennis, basically. And they just set up a whole load of WhatsApp groups. They book out a court and then they just send out a WhatsApp and say, anybody want to play pickle? And a whole load of people turn up. It's a great social game, as you said, Sandi. And but you know, it's not anything like tennis, really. It's I mean, I've played it a couple of times. First time I went in, I played it with a whole load of people who've been playing for ages, and I can keep up with it, no problem whatsoever. So it's not difficult at all. It's much, much, much easier. Great for kids.
Yeah.
Thank you, Barbara. Let's go on to Karen Harrison now, please. Remind us where you're from, Karen.
Hello, I'm from Warsash in Hampshire. So 2 questions, and one of them is about Hampshire, where that county is changing into being a charity. So it's changing its constitution. And I've got no context for knowing, have other counties already done that? Are they doing something different, or are they sort of catching up with what everybody else is doing?
Well, the main answer to that is that the LTA itself became a company limited by guarantee in 2011. And the main reasons for that were to reduce liabilities more than anything else. Now, what happened then, it was a number of counties immediately followed the LTA and went down the route of either company limited by guarantee, or in some cases a CIO, which is, oh golly, somebody's got to go and tell me what that is. Charitable, I don't know what it is.
Charitable incorporated organisation.
Thank you. Good. So there are a number of choices. Now the CIO route came in later. So what the counties are faced with, all the counties are checking their legal entity now in order that they can really stay safe and be well governed. So just so that you know, all counties are required to comply to a certain number of governance requirements to the LTA, and the LTA in turn to Sport England. So this is how this has come. So all the counties are looking, and they are looking individually because every county is different. And some have gone down the CLG route and some have gone down the CIO route. I think there's even a third route that some have gone. So they're taking legal advice and sorting it out. I would predict that in 2 years' time, that all of the counties will have one of these legal entities. So they've all realised that it's probably the best thing. Kay, what did you just say? I missed it.
I was just suggesting that maybe it's made clear that the counties are totally separate from the LTA regional teams, because I know that's something that people get a bit confused about sometimes.
Okay. So counties are independent and members of the LTA. So that is the membership of the LTA is the counties, Scotland, Wales, and these other organisations that I said. But they are independent legal entities, and that's why they're all going down this route of making sure that they are safely governed.
Okay,
thank you.
Thank you very much.
You had another one about Hampshire. You had another one, Karen?
My other one, and I don't think you can answer, but you might be able to point me in the right direction, is I'm doing the club's registration at the moment, and I've got probably a list of about 10 items of things that I can't do or things that is a problem with the registration process or just want to give feedback to, and I'm not sure who to direct it to in the LTA.
Well, you can send it in 2 directions, but if I were you, I'd first go to your county administrator. I think your county administrator is called Sandra.
Yeah, okay. Yeah.
I would go to her first. Those county administrators are absolutely brilliant at this. And I know Sandra's got a load of experience. So go to her first. If she can't solve any of those, I'm going to guess she'll find somebody who can.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
Lovely. Candice.
Can I add a little bit, Simon, there? Something I've been talking to a couple of people this morning about. Remember that if any of you are doing registration at the moment, one of the 2 important things that you do and get right. One is that you make sure your club main contact is current, having discovered that that's not the case where I've been visiting. And the other is make sure your list of volunteers is up to date, because it's that list of volunteers on your registration that goes into the Wimbledon ballot that is a special ballot for venue volunteers. So if you're a venue volunteer, you get another bite at the cherry of getting Wimbledon tickets, just as you would if you were a coach, an official, a county volunteer. There are all these different ballots for Wimbledon tickets, and venue volunteers is one. But the information about who the venue volunteers are is picked up from registration. And then in addition, they have to opt in. Is that all right, Karen?
Yeah, I mean, the only problem with it I found last year was when people that were volunteers were successful in the ballot, we never found out whether it was the main club ballot or whether it was a volunteer one, which was a bit sort of frustrating because it would have been nice to have known.
Yeah, I think that's an All England club thing, and I don't think that's possible for us to fix. So I think we have to just go with the flow on that one, because none of us will know half the time whether you got it as a coach or an official or a volunteer or in the advantage ballot.
Okay.
Great. Thank you. Candice, where are you from, please?
Hi, Simon. Hi, Sandy. Hi, everyone.
Hi.
Hello. I'm from Bagshot Tennis Club. For those of you who are Surrey-based, we're a tiny, tiny club with 5 courts, loads of members, loads of kids, quite a busy club for the size of the club that we are. I should have jumped on when you were talking about the pickleball, but I just wanted to add our experience. If you are a club and you are considering introducing pickleball to your members, I can wholeheartedly recommend it. We can't afford paddle. Paddle is, like you said, it's a minimum investment of about 80 grand. You can buy pickleball bats, you can buy all.
We're losing you, Candice. Candice,
just invested in.
we lost you, Candice. Can you just repeat that, please?
Can you hear me now?
Yes, we can.
Yeah, we put permanent pickleball lines down, and the reason for this is because, as Sandy, I don't want to repeat what Sandy said, but it is the most accessible racket sport. We have quite a few elderly members. We have many injured members at any one point, and we found that they've been able to play pickleball as a way of getting back into tennis. Now, if you haven't played pickleball, I strongly suggest that you watch it on YouTube, because it's not, I mean, it's very sociable because it's on a smaller court, but it's certainly fast paced. And it's the reason why we have all of these really high profile ex-famous tennis players getting involved in America. And I would really love the LTA to push it more, to support it more, especially at grassroots level. Where I'm lucky in that I'm also a member at Runnymede Royals, and they're one of the largest pickleball groups in the country, clubs. And, you know, this year we've had Pickleball England running the first English nationals up in Bolton. You know, they had thousands of people registering. So whilst it's not tennis and whilst it's not paddle, I think you'll be surprised at just how many people are playing it, how many people, once they try it, they absolutely love it. The other thing that you can do with it is
we've lost you again, Candice, I'm afraid.
Get adults and juniors members involved at the same time.
Candice, I'm afraid we're losing you now. Maybe come back in a minute with your other question other than pickleball.
Okay.
Probably Skinner to learn.
Alex Wingent, while we're waiting for Candice to maybe come back in. Sandy, do you want to reply there?
Yeah, Simon, I'll just respond to a couple of things. I don't know how well Candice can hear.
You can hopefully hear.
But yeah, I completely appreciate what she's saying, the accessibility and everything. I just want to add a few things. If you put pickleball lines down, please remember that is roughly the same size as a red court as well. So don't, whatever you do, put courts down that you only call pickle. Because they have got every opportunity to be used for mini red as well as pickle. And you think about the audience, the kids come after school and Saturdays and Sundays, and most of the pickle players are probably either daytime or at different times at the weekend. So for goodness sake, make the most of having small courts of some sort. It does mean an extra line. A pickle line has got something called a kitchen line, and the red court has got something like a service line. So Candice, I hope you've got the kitchen line and the service line for the red courts as well. And just to say that it's just as much fun to play on those little courts with a strung racket and a red ball as it is with a pickle bat and a pickleball. So we did already have a version of pickleball. The trouble is we put it out there as if it was only for kids. So I think, you know, make sure you're as flexible as possible when you put pickle out there. And earlier on, somebody said pickle is largely on badminton courts. It is. And that is where a lot of the pickle will be played, but it's equally possible to get a lot of pickle played in clubs. So well done you, Candice. And the reason the LTA don't do much at the moment is because we are not the governing body for pickle. If we were to become the governing body for pickle, you will see a great deal more support from the LTA.
Lovely.
Okay.
Thank you, Sandy. Alex Wingent, please come in.
Yes, hello. I'm Alex. My club is the Atlantic Racket Centre in North Devon.
I've been there.
Well done. I just wanted to touch and ask you about whether clubs are mentioning financial pressures to you. A couple of examples that I've been made aware of recently. A couple of clubs who are basically struggling, you know, raising funds for their, you know, their annual club registration. I heard in the last few days a few tennis ball manufacturers are going to be hiking their numbers up 20-30% in the new year. Now, I know you said you weren't going to wave a magic wand, and the LTA can't solve every problem, but I'm just wondering what you've if what you've been hearing on your travels, and perhaps some advice for clubs.
Yeah, I mean, there's no doubt that everybody is suffering from hiking prices, especially for energy. So the kind of thing that clubs are doing is obviously replacing lights with LED, with some fairly, well, some investment to start with, but certainly some considerable savings down the line. There is a matter about matching what you get in and what you go out. And the majority of clubs I've been to have got higher memberships than they've had in years. And there's a little bit of COVID effect in there, being one of the first sports back. So we're lucky enough to have had more members come into our clubs. And also clubs have opened their doors to non-members as well as members on a pay and play basis. So all of those things have increased the income streams, as well as these other things like paddle, pickle, walking tennis, increasing the number of people that come in, because the more income you get, the more possibility you've got of facing the higher prices. Waving magic wands about high prices is very, very difficult. So I think you've got to really, more than anything, is look at getting more in so that you can cover the costs of going out. There is a buying group. Are you aware of the buying group available on the Venue Support Toolkit? So you can make some savings through using the buying group. So have a look at some of the things that you buy regularly, and there may be an LTA agreement on the buying group to get them at a better price because you use the LTA buying group.
Okay, thank you. I'll point the clubs.
I know how accessible you try and make Atlantic Racquet Centre for your community, and I know as a result your coaching prices and your membership prices are in fact very low, aren't they?
Oh, they do a lot, but it's the feeder clubs that are,
Oh, okay, all right, yeah, it can be quite tough, but yeah, just try and add more income streams and add more activities and try and get more rolling in, and then maybe you can face those costs a bit better.
So thank you very much, Sandi, for that. Before I forget, we recently set up the Tennis Community Hub, which is now housing all of our previous videos. This one will be on there as well. Our various groups and how you can join the different groups, our forthcoming events, and it's all housed on the Tennis Community Hub, which Annie will put the link so that you could say that it's via Club Spark, so it's all very easy to get to. And you can connect to that and also ask us questions whenever you want to. And also in a moment, after I go to Roland, I'm going to ask as many of you as possible, just give Sandi 10 seconds, if you could just speak for 10 seconds, summarizing what the biggest challenge you've currently got at your clubs, just so we can get a little idea of what's going to be happening in 2024 and where your priorities are, because like the LTA isn't there to solve all your problems, but they do like to listen, and they can then frame their policies and their ideas on what's actually challenging all of you. So I'm going to ask that of you in a couple of minutes once we dry up any questions, but we've got 3 coming up now. So Roland, coming in for your second question, please go on.
Yes, very cheeky of me, but that last comment just fired a synapse, which is that about accessibility and inclusion, because there are 1 or 2. We are a fortunate club in that we have an infinite waiting list. Essentially, you could be born and die before you get to the end of our waiting list at the moment. And sometimes people say, look, we need to prioritize some juniors coming in, even though they were not on the waiting list because they weren't even born when the waiting list was created. And somebody said, oh no, we can't do that. The LTA, that's the inclusion policy, means we can't do that. And then somebody else says, well, we should prioritize, coached players who've been coached as non-members for years. Oh, we can't do that, the LTA. So how do we get to the bottom of what the LTA policy is on who we can let in? Can we prioritize anybody and so on?
Well, first of all, I don't think the LTA has got any kind of policy on who you can let into your club. So I think
Somebody's using that as an excuse then.
Yeah,
right,
your club can really make your own rules when it comes to that. I mean, there are policies that you do have to follow with the LTA around safeguarding, etc. But no, who you let in is entirely up to you. Otherwise, I can assure you that the All England Club and the Hurlingham Club and the Queen's Club would not be members of the LTA or of anybody, because they definitely do whatever they like. So I think you do what you think is right. If you need to target a certain age group, if you want to have more juniors, I'm sure you could probably get some clever ideas around sort of off-peak membership and peak membership if you've got enormous pressure on your courts, or a coaching only membership, or a kids only membership.
We have all three of those things.
I'm sure you've got all of them. I'm sure you've thought of all of them. And yeah, be as imaginative as you can, and get as many. Do you have any times where your courts don't seem to be used?
Yeah, the off-peak times, we definitely are, sort of 9 to 5, Monday to Friday, and evenings at the weekends. We are offering more and more off-peak memberships, but most people who are of working age, that's not much use to them.
Well, in that case, bring in all the kids, because they can probably fill in that sort of 4 to 6 slot, and some of the weekend stuff. So there you go. Good luck.
Thank you.
Jane, please come in.
Oh, hi, Sandy. I'm from Cheshire. I'm on the exec committee. Sandy, I've got a question regarding parks and the amount of money that's been spent around parks at the moment, which is great. And there's a lot of investment going in there. It's all based around pay and play. But last year, there was funding available for clubs to have access, pay and play access, gate access, and that's no longer available. Is there any way that these things can be resurrected, or is there a route by which you can, I don't know, put a case forward for a club that would really benefit?
Yeah, I mean, the facilities sort of investment program does change with the times a little bit. So there was a spell where putting in gate access systems could be funded, and then there was also there's a spell now where LED lights can offer funding where it didn't before, because that's a current need. I would talk to your PDP about individual clubs, because there are plenty of venues that are called clubs, but they're actually in a park, and actually a gate access system would still be probably their best thing. And also it helps a club in a park also kind of offer more pay and play. Yeah. And sometimes the gate access systems are needed to offer pay and play at certain hours. In case you don't know what PDP, it's a partnership development partner who's in your regional team. So
it's okay to approach.
Yes, perfectly right.
The particular club I'm thinking of is that there are no parks at all in their area, but they're wanting to be very, very inclusive, and they want it to become a community facility. So instead of
they're actually park, these gate access systems are not actually that expensive. So it'd be worth looking at, because there were plenty of clubs who were putting them in. My own club at Park Langley in Beckenham, where I was before Bromley, they put those gate access systems with their own money in all the parks courts that they operated. And it wasn't a fortune. So I would have a look at the costs anyway.
Okay.
Jane, I would also I can put you in contact with them at the LTA, the department helping with loan and grant funding.
The particular club I'm thinking about.
They may be able to help you as well with pointing you in the right direction.
But go to your partnership development partner for that. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
Okay.
Okay. Kay Gilbert, would you like to come in, please?
Yes, hi, Sandy. You mentioned earlier about the underrepresentation of women at the top of some of the other countries' boards and so forth. And I just wondered if you, I wanted to publicly thank you for including me on the Inspire Women volunteer group that you set up. And I know Liz and I think Julie are on the group as well from that group. on the Zoom now, and I just wondered if it was worth perhaps you explaining to everybody what you've done there, because I think it's an impressive program and it should be aired. Thanks, Kay. Thanks for the nudge. I didn't mention it earlier, so that you all know, and Jane also knows, because Jane's on the Keeping Warm group to join the group next year. So it was evident that we were not bad, but not great on gender equality at council level. And also it means that there aren't that many women who are ready to step up and become an LTA board member, where we do have a gender quota, or we did anyway. And so at the beginning of my presidency, I set up the Inspire Women's Leadership Group for volunteers. This year it's just been for 12. We had about 20 people apply, and honestly, the group has been fantastic. So Kay's busy thanking me, but I have to thank the group for being so amazing, because it's gone really well and everybody has helped each other. And we've had the benefit of some fabulous panelists join us on virtual calls, from Katrina Adams, who was USTA president, to the likes of Sue Anstis. If any of the women on the call want to join something called the Women's Sport Collective, she runs that. And we've had some quite inspirational people and webinars, including the likes of Billie Jean King herself. So it's been really good. We always said it was a year's worth of the program. And so this current group, of whom I'm very proud, will graduate in 3 weeks' time, and we'll be looking to restart the program in March next year. So any women on the call, if this is something you're interested in, keep an eye out through your county of when we start recruiting for the next one. We are reviewing it at the moment to decide just how we do it next year, what size we make it, and how we sort of run the program. It'll be reasonably similar, and I think we'll still focus on the leadership qualities for women while we start to close the gap. And then when maybe the gap is all closed, we'll just have a leadership training group for everybody. But yeah, look out for it. And thank you, Kay.
Lovely. So we've got no more questions right now. Are any people ready to give us a quick, what would you like in 2024? Come off mute and just say you've got your 10 seconds. We'll just try it.
Come on.
Can I start?
Please.
LED lights. We laid our Tiger Turf courts only 18 months ago, so our funds are a bit depleted, and we simply couldn't fund the conversion to LED lights unless we got a grant. So is a grant possible? Obviously a loan is not so attractive, but I read, I think, on the Facebook group that there was a European environmental group that contributed, as well as Sport England.
So John, on that, please join which Annie will put up right now. Join the Floodlight community if you're not a member already. Yeah. Ask that question of them, because that's part of another sister group of our group, and they will be able to guide you. You'll get lots of answers almost immediately on that.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, Julie, what would you like in 2024?
Sorry, I was just going to follow up. John, we're going to connect after this call, but I do know someone who's very good at grant and fundraising in Cambridgeshire. So if you pop that in an email to me, that hopefully can help you.
Is that Steve, Mr. 10%?
Yes.
Excellent.
He's got a high success rate though, but we can talk offline.
Okay, we'll do that. Thank you.
Lovely. Thanks, Julie. Kay Skelton.
Yeah, hi. We've obviously just put LED lights in, and our club is also very depleted on money at the moment. So we're looking to do some sponsorship banners for local businesses to advertise their business and placing them around our courts. But we're finding it really, really difficult to reach out to people to take it on. We didn't think it was a lot a year. So if anybody's got any help or advice that we could use to get that out there a little bit more, it'd be helpful.
Okay, anybody else?
Shall I go? I don't know if this is possible with your magic wand, Sandy. Planning permission's our biggest problem. We had to do so many hurdles to get the extra paddle court and the extra tennis courts, even though we were putting them on existing tennis courts this year. Is there any chance of the LTA, Sports England, and planning authorities getting together to, walk the talk rather than they talk about making planning easier for sport? But that's not our experience.
Yeah, well, lobbying goes on all the time from all sports on things like floodlights and extra facilities. And it really does seem to vary from place to place everywhere I go. So, if you're in Manchester, actually, you don't have so much problem because the Manchester City Council in particular are very supportive of sport. When I was in Bucks last week, they all felt that they couldn't get planning permission for barely anything. Even Pickle makes too much noise for their planners. So it's a local issue, Mark, and I don't think it's something that anybody can do. There is always something in the government stuff around lobbying for better planning permission for sports facilities. So I'm definitely not very politically minded, so I have no idea where you go next. Just make lots of friends with your neighbours, invite them round, offer them nice things. I know some of your neighbours, so invite them round for a beer, and I'm sure you'll get fewer objections.
Great.
Thank you.
Dina, would you like to come in, please? Dina, can you hear us?
Sorry, I was on mute. Just a quick one, something really different. I'm a coach as well as a volunteer, and they're pushing a lot for us to all be accredited and accredited plus. I've been accredited plus since it was licensees and everything. And I used to have a uniform that we could buy through the LTA at a reduced rate that says that I'm accredited. And I'm still wearing all my really old fashioned stuff because I'm quite proud to be accredited. But since it went from Specialist Sports to Castor being the sponsor, there's nowhere we can get accredited uniform now, so people can see that we are accredited coaches. I love my accredited beanie that I got on my coach forum last week, but there's nothing else anywhere so we can advertise that we bothered to be accredited. And I wondered if there was anything like that could be put in place for possibly next year.
That's news for me, because I had thought that was still available, but it clearly isn't. So between me and possibly Mandy Stonia and maybe Kay, we'll follow that one up, because I'm a bit surprised that it's not still available.
Brilliant, thank you.
Yeah, I agree with you. I thought it was in the coach area.
Yeah,
it used to be Specialist Sports,
yeah,
where you could go into the Adidas page, Adidas, and then they lost the sponsor and it went to Castor, which means that we get 20% off the Castor website, I think it is, but nothing says licensed on it or anything like that.
So I know a couple of coaches have bought the Castor stuff and gone to their local embroiderers or printers and just added their own logo on it, because obviously some LTA, some are accredited plus, some are level 4s, some are, so depending on what standard or what level they were, they've added it on themselves. So they've got the branded kit with the LTA logos on, and then added their accreditation themselves, wherever you want it, whether it be at the front or on your sleeve.
Yeah,
that could be an option.
Great, thank you.
Lovely. And we've got Norma has put it onto the chat about her challenges, neighbours and lights and tennis club there before the houses, getting people to volunteer and coming onto the committee, and dealing with tricky issues. Those are her challenges for 2024. So anyone else before we close our meeting?
Say thank you to Alex Beaumont for allowing us to put a video on for the LTA awards rather than having to write everything. So that was a brilliant addition this year.
Right.
So you can do a video clip of your nomination rather than filling all the paperwork in. So thank you, Alex, for putting that in, because a couple of our people in Avon have done that. Some of the coaches that aren't very confident at writing have done a video instead, which has been brilliant.
That's brilliant. And I hope all of you have seen the little LTA awards from the winners from last year. that have been going around on social media and on the LTA website. They're absolutely brilliant, and they profile some of the last year's winners. They're really lovely, put together well.
One coming tomorrow with Jack Draper as well, so look out for that one.
Brilliant. Is that with Carol and Imam? No, yeah. Brilliant. They've been great. Well done, Alex.
And that was Alex jumping in, who's just received the great praise. So well done, Alex. So thank you very much, Sandi, for joining us today. Hopefully you'll come back again soon. You enjoyed it, and you'll give us the next sort of catch up and update on what's been going on. But thank you very much, everybody, for joining us. We're going to turn the video off now, and then you can, if you could do that for me, please, Annie.